Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Ever Forward Radio. My name is Barton Scott. I'm a chemical engineer and founder of Upgraded Formulas. I'm also a nutritionist. I had a health crisis that I overcame using the approaches we'll talk about in this episode. It's been the biggest shift for me personally that I've ever done in my physical health. And we'll get all into that in this episode of how you can do that too, and how that impacts all different areas of your life.
Today's episode is brought to you by our partners at Element. Elemental Labs' Recharge Electrolyte Drink Mix is a staple in my morning routine, pre-workout, anytime I'm traveling. Honestly, anytime that I need to just make damn sure I am getting vital, essential nutrients into my body, such as sodium, potassium, magnesium, in a very convenient grab-and-go pack that tastes great standalone, or I can mix into a smoothie or my morning super greens, whatever I need to do to make sure I'm getting these vital nutrients into my body. I'm reaching for Elemental Labs. Make sure to check the show notes for the link to get your free variety sample pack. Simply throw down a couple dollars for shipping here in the United States, and you can get their variety sample pack for free. All you got to do is head to drinkelement.com/everforward. That's drinklmnt.com/everforward to get your free variety sample pack. Welcome back, everyone. This is your number one source for inspiring content from people who are putting a purpose to their passion and truly living a life ever forward. Conversations and messages that will take your fitness, nutrition, and mindset to the next level. I am your host, Chase Chewning. This is Ever Forward Radio. Upgraded life. Let me upgrade you. Well, if it wasn't so damn expensive to get the rights to a Beyonce song, I right here would be including her Upgrade You track. But you know what? We're not going to do that. You definitely don't want to hear me sing it either. So let's just get right into the episode. Today, I'm joined by Upgraded Formula's founder and CEO, Barton Scott. And Barton and I start this conversation off by kind of sharing an unfortunate turn of events in our life that put us on the path to really becoming so interested and intrigued of the human potential. I lost my father to a terminal illness. He lost his mother to an aneurysm, and it both stopped us in our tracks in terms of how short life is, but more importantly, what can we be doing more to learn our bio-individuality, to learn health and wellness, to learn all of these things, to paint the big picture of life, of longevity, of moving well, thinking well, acting well, being in healthy relationships for the long haul. I am not you, you are not me. And you're going to learn more about that specifically in Barton's conversation when it comes to deficiencies or even surpluses of vital nutrients, essential nutrients, things like sodium, potassium, magnesium, iodine, all of these minerals that in a lot of cases are the missing link. You're going to hear how he went through an extreme protocol, test after test after test himself, because he just felt off. He was having brain fog, and he was an athlete. He was seemingly doing all the right things, right? I'm sure nobody here can relate. You think you're doing all the right things, the best workout, your diet is dialed in, but just something sometimes is off. And there's a fun little quote I want to share with you here from Linus Pauling, the 2 times Nobel Prize winner and renowned biochemist. And he goes on to state, "You can trace every sickness, every disease, and every ailment to mineral deficiency." Every disease, every sickness. Let that sink in for a second. So no matter what you think you are doing right or wrong, I'm here to tell you that you are unique. You need to know what is going on in your body, and through just getting your annual physicals, through getting simple labs and blood work, or even something on the level of upgraded formulas. And Barton is actually passing a great deal on to you guys. You can check the show notes again for his offer to you, but you can head to upgradedformulas.com and use his own personal kind of homie hookup code, Barton10, that's Barton, and you're going to save some money off of their deficiency test and consultation. This is not a sponsorship. I have no skin in the game here. I'm just simply passing along this offer that he gave to the audience. And I'm really intrigued. I'm going to be going through the same protocol myself. I can't wait to go over the results, because I too am someone that just really prides myself on every day paying attention to my body, doing a biofeedback scan, moving, drinking water, sleeping well, taking key supplements. But sometimes, sometimes we're a little led astray. Sometimes our bodies are demanding more of us and we don't realize it. We have levels that are high, levels that are low, but the best thing you can do is to just keep showing up and test, don't guess, like Barton talks about. So if learning more about trace minerals and all these things that are going on inside of our organs, our bones, our blood, and how they can be preventing us, maybe possibly from truly a fully optimized life, living a life ever forward, then you're in for a real treat. I present to you Barton Scott from Upgraded Labs. I hope you are ready to get upgraded. As soon as I heard the name of this company with Barton Scott, it reminded me of a movie I saw a couple years ago that I don't think is what we're here to talk about. It was called Upgraded, and it was this wild operating system with like a spinal tap AI kind of thing. If you guys have that in the back, let me know. I would love to learn more about it, but we're not here to talk about that just yet. So Barton, officially welcome, man. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to dropping some knowledge. This is an area that is near and dear to me. I've seen drastic changes in people's health. So yeah, let's jump into it.
And out of the gate, I have learned a little bit more of your story. And like a lot of people that come on the show, and like myself included, we had a very, very big catalyst for a wake-up call to what we're doing with our life, more importantly, how we are taking care of our life, because we lost a life very close to us. I was 19 years old when my father passed away from a terminal illness, Lou Gehrig's disease. And that, amongst a few other things, at 19 to 23 age range, really woke me up to, hey, we only got one life. We can't take this for granted. Got to start learning more about my human spirit, mind, body, everything, and start taking some of that power back. And you had something similar happen to you, no?
Yes. I think there's two categories of things like this. It's near-death experiences that wake you up, and it's someone that is integral to your life that passes, either over time or unexpectedly. In my case, it was unexpectedly, and it was an aneurysm, so didn't get a chance to say goodbye, and
just all of a sudden.
At the same time, her health was just declining. This is my mother, and we'd been super close as a family, and just thankfully learned so much. She was a brilliant woman, super vivacious. Could walk into a room and sort of intuitively understand everyone, even at first meeting.
Wow.
Just powerful person.
What a woman.
Could just sit with the poorest among us, and then could sit with diplomats in the same evening and just have a great sort of conversation. And it was painful to watch her health sort of decline, have her thymus gland removed, be on prednisone, be on a bunch of medications that were not solutions. They were just patches, because the medical system is really good at surgeries, and even that can be botched. But this is not to hate on doctors. I love the good doctors out there that continue to educate themselves, that don't look at med school as the last time they need to educate themselves, but they continually educate themselves. Yet they're not taught nutrition, and that's not their fault, but they aren't. That's just a fact in school. So I had a background as a chemical engineer, and around this time, partly probably because of the trauma, partly because I'd been a wrestler at a really high level for a long, long time, and then got into jiu-jitsu and had just been sweating since I was like 5. I started to have my memory sort of blank out on me, short-term memory, that is. And, that kind of, why'd you walk into the room? Just happening way too much for mid-20s. And flash forward to today, what I've figured out was I realized that it was nutrient deficiencies, and I realized that I was already taking. So intuitively, I was taking a lot of the supplements I needed to take from really good brands, and it wasn't that the brands didn't have what they said they should have in them. it was this key that we learned in chemical engineering. We did a lot of labs. We did the math, the chemistry, the physics, the thermodynamics, the fluid mechanics of all of it. And that's absorption. That is really what chemical engineers around the world get paid to do. They look at an industrial process, they take that industrial process, and they move it forward. They make it better, they make it higher output, they make whatever it takes to get an end product that is, in this case, more readily absorbed by the body, more understood. So that I realized was particle size. So for anyone that's starting to blur, don't worry. I'm not going to obsess about this, but I want you to understand, when with us talking here, that this is what made the difference.
This is science, but this is real life. This is real life. Yes, we all have this going on right now.
Yeah. So well said. This is real life. So when you take a normal supplement, any of your favorite brands, you absorb about 25% or less of that supplement. And that's because our bodies are not perfectly efficient, and they're not going to be. In fact, with the world as polluted as it is, it's probably going to continue on this trend of worse and worse. So more gut dysfunction. We pick up parasites. We drink alcohol. We have stressful lives. All of these things do contribute to gut dysfunction. And because of that, I knew that trying to heal the gut was something that was just not going to be enough. That I had gotten onto that train early in my 20s, late teens even. I think I started reading the first book about gut inflammation and how to heal the gut, how to detox, how to remove triggers from the body. And I was several years into that when this happened. So, and I was already eating a really good diet. But I was missing certain things. And now today we have not only products, but we have testing that ships to people's homes so they can see like, hey, you don't want to take any supplements? Great, but you should at least be testing quarterly. And
you should at least get your baseline
and where you are.
Yeah, that's baseline. A concept I always advocate for.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, if it's fitness, if it's emotional health, if it's physical health, no matter what it is, right? If it's financial health, you want a baseline of where are you right now? And for, obviously the physical health, the body and the mind are really one. And that is so key. It's really, if you go to something like Tony Robbins, you'll see the base level of the pyramid that he talks about is your physical energy, the energy you're able to produce. And then everything else you want to do in life is determined by how much bandwidth you have, how much energy you have. So I remember thinking then, like, I have such big plans for life. There is no way in hell that this is going to be enough to get a day's work done, a week's worth of work done, a life worth living, a life of work, a life of achievement, a life of contribution. So, yeah, I mean, I realized pretty quickly, I'd grown up around a lot of successful entrepreneurs in my family and, adjacent. And I felt like the only way to really get what I would need would be to create a company and have the scale so I could deliver these products and this testing to a lot of people. And as a result, as a side effect, sort of, I would get what I would need in the process. And I also just thought it could be a really good calling. This is sort of a 3 a.m. Waking up in the middle of the night, it's, oddly clear-headed, where you go like, I need to get to work right now.
Those are the best moments, aren't they? Yeah, the beginning of the snowball.
Yeah, and they can be a little scary sometimes too, if you really fully accept that mission. But that's okay. It's okay to feel the fear. It's just you act anyway, right?
Absolutely.
If you feel like it's what you need to do. So that was the sort of siren's call of this, and both a dare and a call, essentially. And yeah, fast forward to today. We're recording this in March 2021, and I am so proud of the impact we're able to make for people in their health. Really at any age. People have deficiencies at 6 years old and at 80. We work with people all across that spectrum. So
deficiencies, mineral deficiencies. This is something that is a very, very sneaky thing in our health that we don't fully know about. A lot of us, myself included, we probably have gone years in our life without ever getting a test like this or asking our doctor, hey, can I expand upon just my basic blood sugar and cholesterol when I get my physical? I would encourage you to always have an open conversation and hopefully good relationship with your primary care provider and ask for things like that. But also pay attention. Hopefully conversations like this today can help bring a new level of awareness and biofeedback scan really to, am I doing all the things that I think that I'm doing? Am I doing them consistently? And if so, am I getting the results that I'm hoping for? And I want to bring your attention specifically to an item that Bart and I talk a lot about here in this episode, and that's deficiencies in magnesium. Magnesium is something that is responsible for hundreds or contributes to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of processes and functions in the body and is utilized head to toe. And the vast majority of us are deficient. And so this really paints the bigger picture for why I've partnered with Elemental Labs and their Recharge Electrolyte drink mix. It's something that I take every single day, every morning, so I know that I'm getting a powerful and trusted and clinically effective dose of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. I want to bring your attention to particularly magnesium. And I'm going to link this study down in the show notes. This is coming from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. And this is a study from not that long ago, came out in 2018. And this is titled, quote, Subclinical Magnesium Deficiency, a principal driver of cardiovascular disease and a public health crisis. It goes on to talk about how, quote, because of chronic diseases, medications, decreases in food crop magnesium contents, and the availability of refined and processed foods, the vast majority of people in modern societies are at risk for magnesium deficiency. Certain individuals will need to supplement with magnesium in order to prevent suboptimal magnesium deficiency, especially if trying to obtain an optimal magnesium status to prevent chronic disease. End quote. I don't know about you, but that's definitely me. I am here to not only perform as best as possible today, but I want to make sure I'm doing things that stack the conditions in my favor in terms of my brain health, gut health, immune health, and help me thwart off viruses, bacteria, disease, and just make my body much better at adaptation and handling these stresses, i.e. preventing chronic disease. The study then goes on to describe, quote, subclinical magnesium deficiency increases the risk of numerous types of cardiovascular disease, costs nations around the world an incalculable amount of healthcare costs and suffering, and should be considered a public health crisis. That an easy, cost-effective strategy exists to prevent and treat subclinical magnesium deficiency should provide an urgent call to action. End quote. Easy, cost-effective. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm mentioning Elemental Labs. And in fact, it is so cost-effective right now as an exclusive offer to you, the proud listener and supporter of Everforward Radio. You can get their variety sample pack for free. All you need to do is throw down just a couple dollars here in the United States to cover shipping. It's really that simple. Just click the link down in the show notes below, or whenever you're at a computer again, on your phone, on your browser, you can head to drinkelement.com/everforward to not only read more about Element and their Recharge drink mix, you're going to see me, you're going to read my personal words and my contributions to why I love Element so much. Again, that is drinkelement.com/everforward. DRINKLMNT.com/everforward. And there, go ahead and get yourself the free variety sample pack. Fortify yourself and hopefully thwart off chronic disease and just make your body way better, and stacking the conditions in favor for immune health, gut health, all of these things that we know can be traced back to deficiencies in trace minerals such as magnesium. drinkelement.com/everforward to get your free variety sample pack. Simply cover shipping here in the US. All right, now that we've learned a little bit more about magnesium, let's keep this conversation rolling when it comes to mineral deficiencies with Barton Scott from Upgraded Formulas. Let's go there a little bit more if we could, please. Go there and even take a little bit of a step back. When you were sharing your personal experience of seemingly doing all the right things, right? You were very active. It sounds like even at a competitive level, you were eating all things that we're supposed to, right? Quality diet, key supplements, but yet you still found yourself missing something. I'm curious, how did you know that? Like, what did it feel like? How did it show up in your life? Because I really want the listener to try to kind of paint connect some dots here as well. Because we all think we can do all the right things, but sometimes there's just that thing in the back of your head going, I'm missing something.
Yep. So how did it feel? Well, I was mid-20s and working my first job as an engineer, and I started to have really severe brain fog. My mood I'd always been very, very positive. And my mood, I would go through these kind of blasé sort of moments and days. And on a Saturday, the weekends would kind of drift by. And I would think like, oh, I'm going to read these books this weekend. My memory had been so sharp in college and really all through my life. So it was pretty black and white, the change for me. And it was quick. It was early in life. So it wasn't something that I could just accept. It wasn't 80. I wasn't, and frankly, looking at my levels then, there are healthy 80-year-olds and older out there. And my levels look worse than that. I still have an old test, and it's absurd.
So what were some of these tests you were getting? I'm curious, what did you go to get your baseline?
Great question. So luckily I was single at the time. I was making a good salary. I was able to spend and really had my back against the wall trying to spend and find this out. So I was buying any test I could think of, consulting with different naturopathic doctors and nutritionists. And I ended up landing on the only test I found that was really actionable that led to, okay, wow, I can do something here. I can measure and I can sort of know where I am and change some things, turn some levers, was a hair analysis. So and we brought that test. What we've done today is really brought that test out of the dark ages into like a really seamless at-home kit. Used to have to go to your doctor's office or dentist or a naturopathic doctor or nutritionist, and it just was very archaic. So, but yeah, this test finally, I was like, wow, okay, this is great. But pretty quickly, I realized during a consultation, luckily with someone that he's retired now, but he was just incredibly knowledgeable. He kind of opened my eyes up as a real paradigm shift of looking at this and going like, oh man, I've got to make some changes here. Like, and also I'm taking, as I mentioned earlier, I was taking the magnesium, the potassium, the selenium. There were other things that I was not taking, like manganese. My salt was low, all sorts of things. So instead of just like guessing today, I always point people when they say, oh, my thyroid, I feel like is low, or I did some blood work and it showed that it was low, or I did a Dutch test and it showed that my adrenals were low. All of these things are good, but you want to see a whole picture. So what we do, Chase, is we look at the entire picture, right? By testing your hair, that 1.5 inches closest to the scalp. And for anyone listening that shaves their head, don't worry. You can use underarm, you can use pubic. But it's not just one hair, it's more than that, but there's instructions and stuff. We measure it all at once. So what you're seeing is you're not seeing, an iron blood marker on, April 17th. And then, you're seeing calcium a few days later.
You're not getting these snapshots in time and, essential items that make us really, which, one time you can look at something and it's high and it's low, but then, you really need to kind of see how are the systems working together at one time.
Right. And think about that. Like how huge is that? Like, and also think about it. Like, let's say you were looking over a business's financials. You would look at it and you wouldn't just look at, what's their cost of goods sold, or what were they spending on advertising, or et cetera, or personnel, et cetera, right? You would want to look at all of it, all at the same time for as long of a time period as possible to do real diligence, right? And with blood, to just contrast, in blood, urine, saliva, you're looking at a day's worth of data. The reason why is
interesting.
if you're not fasting, you're looking at your results being skewed. So that should tell you a lot right there.
Yeah, of course. Got to keep in mind metabolism. I mean, you got a lot going on hours and hours before you would ever even test something.
Exactly. And then also, did you drink 2 nights before? Did you, it's just all sorts of things. Did you eat differently? Did you, knowing that you're going to have blood work? I see this, I think this is particularly true with older patients who are worried about, cardiovascular disease and all sorts of different health issues, and actually getting diagnosed with some sort of disease, which by the way, no one has to have a fear of looking at this. There's always something to optimize with this particular test I'm talking about. But we don't, you're not going to find out, oh, I have, cardiovascular disease. You will find out nutrients that you're missing or have too much of, which is equally bad. If your calcium's super, super high, you can have some huge issues, which I could talk about later.
Things we can be aware of now so that we can get ahead of them so that they don't turn into things like chronic illness and disease.
Exactly. And there, just to touch on that real quick. So it's been stated that magnesium deficiency alone plays a role in every single disease that we found.
Wow. I recently heard that magnesium, we're finding, is a key component to over hundreds of different chemical reactions and processes in the body. And most of us are deficient in magnesium. But what you're saying is even next level. That's wow. That's wow.
Yeah. And certainly, and so there's, what we know is there's at least 800 different biochemical reactions in the body that this makes a huge difference in. So I always say people should go and get a test and a consultation. We offer both. If you want to get it somewhere else, I mean, go for it. But most nutritionists and I think virtually all doctors, it's not taught in med school. And as a lot of the valuable tests are not taught. And you really need to, it's not a big group of people out there that understand how to interpret this accurately, which is way beyond just looking at your results and going, oh, I'm low in said nutrient, I should then buy that. No, instead you get it. So, and that will take you a little ways. That'll get you like 10 or 20% maybe, but what you really, to bring home the gold, you really need to understand ratios, and there are key ratios, important ratios that we look at on every test. So we measure 63 different things, and we look at ratios that influence each other. So I could talk about those too.
Yeah, but, I would love to dive into that component. It really reminds me of before I was doing this full time, and I actually was in the clinic every day. I was a clinical health coach for years, and most of my patients would come and see me the same day, within the same 48 hours or so of seeing their primary care provider, getting their labs, fasting glucose, A1C, HDL, LDL ratio. We would even look at C-reactive protein, omega-3, and a few other significant markers for overall health. And I would always think when I would read somebody's results, whether they were good, bad, or ugly, it's like, part of me was kind of hesitant to even share some of that data, because I was like, I know there's more. These are good markers to start with and big things that we can more immediately manipulate when it comes to sunlight, sleep, nutrition, hydration. But I knew that there was more involved. And that's really where your work steps in. And that's the more part, and that's the minerals. So the mineral component, what are you all measuring, and why? And why is this a necessary step beyond maybe what the listener is getting in their annual physical, like I was just talking about?
Yeah, so I agree with all of that. So we're measuring 63 different nutrients. Those are all metals and heavy metals. And it's pretty profound what you see with that. And the reason why is we talked about just magnesium controlling or playing a part in the efficacy of over or at least 800 biochemical reactions, right? So the cell, to make ATP or energy in its raw form, it needs oxygen, it needs magnesium. So, and whenever the cell doesn't have that, you need, and this is for anyone listening, keep listening, because it's not just about magnesium. You can have too much magnesium, and you can displace calcium, sodium, potassium. You can disrupt all sorts, really all of your levels by taking too much of something. So
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, so think of it as this. So, well, just a blanket statement: minerals, not vitamins, is what I realized in doing all that deep research. And you remember, I was a chemical engineer. I got a minor in chemistry. I did a lot of calculus-based physics, and then got a minor in math. And then I really turned my attention back to nutrition. I mentioned I'd wrestled because in that sport, I mean, I played football too, but in the sport of wrestling, you're always looking at your weight. So even as a teenager, I was understanding nutrition and understanding I could have an edge, more energy, more performance, more endurance by electrolytes, by just so many different things. And yet at that time, I wasn't testing my levels, because most teenagers just aren't. But you can do this. I mean, we've done this with infants. So it's really, really key. But what I learned was, and this is like key snapshot for anyone listening, is minerals, not vitamins, are much more important to the body. And to the extent that we have sunlight, you mentioned, we have water, if we have plenty of minerals, we can fast on our own stored body fat for a long time. The world record fast is over a year.
What?
Yeah. And it's
oh my gosh.
382 days. And
wow.
that kind of gives you an insight of, like, if someone has enough fat on them, which this person was, morbidly obese, as a clinical definition.
Yeah, I read about this. This is ringing a bell now. I remember that it was a part of a fast for a very, very severely overweight person. Yeah.
So, you start to ask, well, how do I produce energy? What glands produce energy in the body? All right. So your adrenals, your thyroid, those produce nearly 100% of the energy in the body. So what else? Like 98%. What do those glands take? Well, they take, in the case of the thyroid, iodine, selenium, zinc, chromium, copper, magnesium. Those are all key nutrients, and then more to a lesser extent. So I created a product that was a balanced ratio, that if someone was high or low, they could take it. And then I created large doses of iodine, zinc, selenium. If someone was hyperthyroid, they could take based on their results, right? And they could actually move the needle. They could have from one test to another, usually 60 and 90 days apart. They could get on a protocol, make any dietary changes that our nutritionists recommend, take only the supplements they needed, stop taking supplements they didn't need, and really start to pivot this ship that is the body, that's been living a living organism for 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 years.
Wow.
Or even 10 years, right? If someone's listening and you have like a teenager at home, or you are a teenager, and you're like pounding Red Bulls or Monster or pre-workout, just know that all those things that give you that unhuman-like level of energy, it's also depleting your adrenals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, getting on and like speaking for an hour, that is stressful. That depletes, like everything we do in life, a hard workout, a sauna session. People are doing sauna every single day, and it's hurting them because they already have low sodium potassium ratio, which is a vitality metric for like how are you doing? Like it's
everything's really a stressor on the body, negative or positive. We have stress or eustress, no matter what. Every day, if you wake up gratefully so and face another day, welcome to just a world of combating stress. And everything internally, externally is happening, whether you realize it or even want to accept it or not. But that's what I love about what people like you and your work that you're doing and conversations like this. It can instill a sense of a reminder, basically, like, hey, I'm not a Superman. I'm not a Superwoman. Hey, I'm alive and I'm breathing, which means I'm facing stress, which means I'm losing vital nutrients every damn day, some more than others. And some of us have more of a sense of awareness on what exactly is happening, what we need to replenish, and where we need to kind of reach for this homeostasis type of goal. And that's I think the key takeaway.
That is really well said. Yeah, the idea of hormetic stressors, hormesis, that is that some stress, some amount of a certain stress, whether it, let's say, workout or sauna, is good, or work stress. You're building a company or what have you, or you're raising a family, or you're competing in some sort of competition or race. All of that, some amount of that is going to be really good, and then some of it, after a certain point, is going to be just damaging. That's it. It's part of the reason why. Yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for that topic. And but there's so much more that could be said there.
No doubt. I'm curious, when you're going through these protocols with people and kind of going over their results, you said something that caught my attention. Maybe what they're taking, they don't need or could take less of. I'm guilty. I got quite a routine when it comes to my supplements, quite a routine. Now, some I use every day. Some I know I reach for when, I kind of have that biofeedback scan with myself and I need a little bit of more of this, a little bit less of that. But I'm curious, when you go through a protocol like this, what were some of maybe the most common supplements or types of supplements you found people flat out didn't need, or maybe were to their detriment?
So there's 10 common deficiencies that we see, and some of them are easy to get in the diet. Some do not absorb very well at all. So calcium absorbs pretty well. That's not a super common deficiency that we see, actually. So for most people out there, you can put down the milk, and you can not be obsessed about that.
What about females? Even still?
Yeah, even still. And we, again, we're testing all of this in relationship to each other. So even if you have a level of something that is low, if it's in relationship to, let's take calcium and magnesium, if that is in a ratio where the calcium is a little bit low, but your magnesium is super, super low, then you want to take a certain action. You take a slightly different scenario where your calcium is a little low and your magnesium is really high in relationship to calcium. You have a totally different outcome. You have a totally different that starts to affect your adrenals, and then you could look at sodium and magnesium as a relationship. A lot of us were taught that a lot of salt is bad for you. And what I've noticed is, for especially people probably like listening to this podcast most days out of the week, they're doing a pretty good job with their diet, right? Mm-hmm. You are, I'm sure of it. And a lot of people I know, like my whole friend circle, is in that sort of quadrant.
Everybody listening right now is, or they're on their path towards it. That's why they're here, for damn sure. Exactly. So, there's still so many blind spots. What is beautiful about this, though, is what I can say for a lot of people that get on this program and really stick with it, where you're doing a quarterly sort of check-in and you're changing, you're adjusting, right? So you're taking less of this thing and more of that, and none of this thing that you were reliant on 3 months before. But now you've healed that deficiency, so to speak. You reversed it through minerals that absorb. You reversed it through eating more foods that have that nutrient. But again, the soil's depleted, super depleted. So we just can't win, Barton. We can't win, huh? No. We're out here trying all the things, but it's just like, try again, try harder. But I mean, I joke, but it's so true. Yeah. Over the years, supplements have increased their profit margin and added proprietary blends and sketchy substances. The soil has been depleted. Organic versus conventional foods. Like we try, and that's an important thing here. But we just have to be mindful. We have to be aware. We have to respect that our efforts are not always matched with what we think we're getting.
Yes, really well said. The thing, if I can touch on that a little bit, would be to say that a common question that our nutritionists get when they're leading someone through a consultation to understand the results and understand what they need to take action on, what they can dial back as well is they just want to talk. They want to share that, or people want to ask, well, can I get this all from my food? Like, can I just start eating more food?
Very fair question.
This,
which I think is a good first question also, actually.
It's a very good first question. And part of what you have to understand is the world right now, for a number of different reasons, is roughly 1,000 times more toxic, your environment, whether it's inside your house or outside, than it was in any other recorded time in history.
Please say that again for the listener. That's a powerful statistic.
So the world right now is 1,000 times more toxic as an environment, inside your house or outside, anywhere you go. That area, that region, throughout the world, on average, 1,000 times more toxic than it used to be in any other time in recorded history. So that means that you're breathing in heavy metals, and you're breathing in, so like that is, you walk by a construction site and you're getting whiffs of cadmium from the welder. You're getting arsenic, you're getting lead, you're getting aluminum in your water supply, you're getting mercury in your water supply.
Here's a great visual for the listener as well. I don't know, are you familiar with James Nestor's book, Breath?
Yes, I am actually.
I'm almost done with it. And I think this is like the 4th podcast in a row I've referenced this stuff. It's just, his work blows my mind. And I may be butchering this quote exactly, but it's either in each breath or each, I think, 24-hour cycle, the amount of molecules, microscopic molecules that our nostrils, our pulmonary system breathes in with every breath, again, or total cycle, is more than every grain of sand on every beach, every desert in the world. I read that. I shit you not, man. I literally put the book down. I was like, what the hell? Are you kidding me? And so when you think about that, I mean, think about that analogy and what you're talking about here. That coupled with the highest level of pollutants and contaminants and carcinogens and toxins now just out there, it's nuts.
It's nuts, man. I mean, you take a shower, and if you take a hot shower and you don't have a shower filter on your shower to take out chlorine, then you're going to breathe in a huge amount of chlorine.
All right, I'm going to Amazon after this. Got to get a shower filter for my chlorine. I'm making a note, man.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, it's big. Also, your water supply, what you're drinking. We know that our bodies, to a large extent, are made of water. And, oh my God, to optimize, like, why wouldn't you want to, at least most of the time, optimize that source? So, and then, so I'll use a system here at my house. I'm not fanatic about it when I go other places, but I always try. I'm always aware of it. And being aware of it, you can make changes, and you can limit your exposure to a world that's, frankly, look, it's only going to become more toxic in the coming years, unless we can do some radical engineering. And I really see this topsoil erosion as an issue that is even more important than, say, Elon's mission to go to Mars. Like, let's fix this planet.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Regenerative agriculture is where it's at. But here's the thing. To give birth to innovators, we need women, we need mothers that are not minerally deficient. Here's a shocking statistic for you. Out of 6,000 people, 96% were found to be iodine deficient. And some of those people had admitted to already taking iodine supplements at the time of this.
Oh my
gosh. They're still deficient, right? Again, absorption, right?
Yeah.
So this is why you can run out and take this device, do a test, and if you buy normal supplements, your levels won't budge. I've been there. I've done everything I can to make the cost of our supplements super affordable, and they work. They just work. So that's actually one of our taglines: supplements that actually work. The thing with the soil, with the nutrients, I mean, you look at a steak. I wanted to mention this earlier too, after something you said. You take 1 pound of grass-fed beef, that still has roughly half of the nutrients it had 60 years ago. Just 60
years ago?
Yeah.
60. Wow.
Yep, 60.
Wow, that's terrible. We're doing a terrible job.
Yeah, I mean, we in a lot of cases we're just being negligent. So it's not that we need to stop one type we need to stop factory farming, but what kept the topsoil really, intact was we would have buffalo. They would, as they would come through an area, they would graze, they would poop, they would get trampled, and there was a cycle. It would regenerate. So now we have feedlots and we're not rotating. We're not doing any of the practices we should. I mean, we're doing some on some scales. I have some friends who are doing some amazing work in this area.
Rotating crops, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. All of that. So yeah, I mean, should you eat organic? Absolutely. Should you try to strive for regenerative foods? Certainly, but so going back to the iodine thing real quick, for anyone listening, if you know someone that is pregnant, please share this message with them. This is why. A woman that gives birth to a child who herself is iodine deficient will give birth to a child that has, on average, a 20-point lower IQ. Yeah, I'll let that sink in.
Iodine is that powerful, not only for the mother's health and wellness, but for this new child in immediate fetal brain development.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. So you think about the innovation that's going to be required for us to clean up our mess and reverse the topsoil so that we have enough nutrients so that the food we eat is of real value. And you think of we're going to need innovators to do that. And then at the same time, if we don't address in the short term, our nutrient deficiencies through testing instead of guessing, something we trademarked is test, don't guess. As testing over time I was going to say this earlier, it will improve your intuition. You shouldn't rely on your intuition, but you do enough tests.
Yes.
We have people that have been with us for 3 years and their intuition is really sharp. Like they've been through enough consultations, they've been through enough tests. Their health has dramatically improved in so many cases. And it's amazing. I mean, this is why I do what I do, is seeing that transformation.
I'll even go as far as say I can relate 100% to working with patients over many years, but also working on myself for many years. The more and more I help them, they help themselves. And the more I help myself just feel better, perform better, instill a higher sense of awareness over all of these things. Not only did I learn more about what I was doing that was serving that goal or not, but along the way, those things compound. So I become a better, more efficient machine, more efficient system of systems. And then basically when you allow your body to run on all cylinders as efficiently as possible, well, then you become more aware. That biofeedback goes to the next level. So it's kind of like a never-ending cycle, but in a good way. Like the more you honor this wellness journey, you pay attention to the individuality of your biochemistry, you will get better at recognizing the individuality of your biochemistry, so on and so forth.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, really well said.
Especially when your brain's firing, all these minerals and electrolytes, especially when you get this thing firing better, like you think better, everything's better.
Yes. So there's this idea for anyone out there, because you kind of lose track of your health and your vitality. It slowly declines in a lot of cases. So maybe you went out and you had a bachelor party or bachelorette party and you got really drunk and you didn't sleep enough. And then that developed a sort of pattern where you're having a couple of glasses of wine every other evening or something. And then, of course, alcohol is pushing out vital nutrients, coffee, and then you need coffee the next morning to just jumpstart you. And of course, so I'm not trying to say live a puritanical life. No. But understand what lifestyle choices will do to you. And it doesn't matter if your beautiful young friend is doing all these things too. We all have this sort of vitality index, and that's really what we're measuring when we're looking at minerals. To go back to the case of iodine really quick. So I realized that, based on that study, people were not taking enough iodine. I started looking at countries that had a long lifespan, like Japan. I started looking at how much iodine they were taking in. They were taking in about 80 times the iodine that we were taking. And they do this daily. And
through supplementation or through their diet?
Mainly both. But if you just look at their diet, they eat a lot of sea vegetables.
Sure, yeah.
that is really, really good too. Now, on this side of the world, it's just hard to get these things. And they're not just in every food that you order. So they eat sea vegetables with every single meal on average. And they're consuming about 12 milligrams of iodine every single day. So I created a supplement that I knew would absorb really, really well and also be a large dose. Instead of 150 micrograms, we're looking at 5 milligrams. Now,
interesting.
Not everyone needs to take that amount because they need to get other things in order to. But, adding it to your water, doing some every day, iodine's actually not only antibacterial, it's actually antiviral too. So it's one of the things that can help. It's one of the only things that can help against Epstein-Barr virus. So that's a big deal too.
Antiviral is it's a good thing to have these days. Here still in 2021, antiviral is good.
Yeah, and I've done everything I can to make these products absorb well and also not taste terrible. So a lot of iodines you taste are just like cough syrup. They taste terrible. Ours is pretty much like water. Anyway, I touch on that because, look, that is the problem. And the solution that I see is either eat a ton of sea vegetables, which they themselves are going to have a little bit of heavy metals in them, or you can do like a lab-tested, high potency, high absorption sort of solution, which ultimately is easier than eating like a pound of sea vegetables.
Truly, yeah.
So, I mean, that's my solution. That's the way I look at it. And frankly, I haven't found a better solution. So,
well, I mean, this has been just really eye-opening conversation, and everything you and the whole team are doing over Upgraded Formulas is amazing. It's essential work. It's really on my radar for sure. And this is honestly the part of conversations like this where I just realize like how grateful I am to just to have the opportunity to talk to people like you. I'm so glad that the listeners are getting this conversation and they can become more educated, empowered with what they do with their health and wellness. But like, honestly, like firsthand experience, this is the stuff that I'm just so grateful for, because we all can choose to make ourselves better. We can choose to try to put one foot in front of the other in a variety of ways. But we got to know and respect the individual self. There's a lot of information out there, but we need to learn and apply accordingly. Know that we are N equals 1. Life is just an experiment. We are the walking, talking variable every damn day, and we're super unique. And what you all are providing is a glimpse into that uniqueness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe in individuality and seeing every person I meet as a new person, not some conglomeration of people I've met in the past. And I can do that. Our brain just wants to sort of average everyone and go, oh, you're like this person. So
truly.
But the one other key thing I'll mention, because I'm not concerned too much about this from a health perspective and defeating it, but since there is a virus afoot and no one else seems to be talking about this, there are two things that you really have to look at for immune support and health. I can touch on that real quick.
Please, yeah.
Okay, so one of the ratios that we look at is zinc to copper, and that is really, really key. So zinc is antiviral. A lot of people know that. A lot of people have started to take a lot of that. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. Please continue listening to just hear me out on this. When you take too much of something, in this case, zinc, you push out copper. When you push out copper, that is, you become bacterially susceptible. So your overall, so you get a bacterial infection. Overall, what happens to your immune system? So to recap, you've taken too much zinc, and you don't know how much that is because you haven't tested your levels. And that's okay. That's not something you feel guilty about. Here's new information. I'm happy to give it. This is essential. It's something that a friend of mine did recently. He spends a lot of money every month, like $1,000, with an anti-aging doc here in town, and they do great work. They really, really do. And yet they didn't do a hair analysis. They didn't look at what his nutrient deficiencies were and what he was taking too much of. So what happened is I told him this. He had brought his results over, and we were about to cook dinner, like a group of us. And I just said kind of casually over my shoulder as I was prepping things, like, "Oh, be careful with that." He was running through supplements he's taking, and like, "Oh, that's cool. That's cool." And then I said, "Well, careful there because you're going to get a bacterial infection." And he said, "You must be kidding me."
Oh no.
Last week, I had to go to a biological dentist, and I had a bacterial infection in my mouth.
Wow, you called it.
Yeah, I called it. And he's like, and he never cussed. He started cussing up a storm. Like, yeah, I've been telling you this for months now to get this done. It's like easy enough. It's portable. Like, just get it done. And I started in his particular case. I got him on one of our copper supplements, or one of our supplements, which is upgraded copper, and started to balance that level out. And then I gave him another one that we've developed that has a balance ratio of zinc and copper and some other minerals. So yeah, this is huge. Now, if someone's worried about COVID or just viral susceptibility in general, they need to have a balanced ratio of zinc and copper, because you get a bacterial infection. Overall, his immune system is now what? It's lower. So now that it's lower, and I've heard literally no one talk about this.
You become more susceptible.
Yeah, it's so key. But you get a bacterial infection, now you're more susceptible to get a viral infection that you were trying to prevent by paying money to take a supplement every day and a large dose. And then it's just defeating purpose. So again, test, don't guess is where it's at in everything that we do, really. It's not that hard. It pays great dividends. I've done this for years, and personally, I see it as the Occam's razor. I see it as the tool that you need to, no matter what else you're doing, you should be doing this. And I hope that's helpful.
Well said, people. Barton. I could definitely keep picking your brain on this stuff forever. But we're going to get towards the end here. This work has just been, I'm sure, so transformational for you, and the results and insight it's giving to so many other people now is necessary. I'm very excited to learn more about it and kind of dive into the analysis portion myself. It's always intriguing when you're like, oh yeah, we'll get a test, we'll do something, because immediately I'm like, no, I'm already doing everything right, but but no, we got to drop that. We got to really open ourselves up to feedback, especially this type. Well, I'll ask you
happy to jump in and just say, I know we mentioned this briefly, but yeah, if you want to do a second episode, I've done that with plenty of people, and we can review your results so that your audience has an idea of all right, he's
how real is this?
Well, what does it look like for him? Sneak peek, spoiler alert, there will still be things to improve.
Would love to.
Which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
So
that's it. Yeah. That's a gift. Hey, these are the things that I'm holding the line on. This is great. What I'm doing is working. I'm getting that wellness ROI. But hey, also, here's the little area for improvement. That's what it's all about. That's what living a life ever forward is all about. Which brings me to my final question, man. What does that mean to you? And how would you say through the work that you're doing that can kind of help others do the same? You have a very unique approach.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you. Well, we also, so I'm all about root causes, and we donate to a charity that runs itself like an intelligent business.
Amazing.
That is Charity Water, charitywater.org. So a portion of all our sales every month go to them. We have a goal this year to drill at least one well before my birthday, which is at the end of September. And we're closing in on it. So please support us in that work too, and check them out, because they do a great job, man. They, there's 785 million people, so just shy of a billion, that don't have clean water. And that to me is just ridiculous in 2021. We're printing so much money that,
literally,
look,
yeah.
We could solve this problem, and it is more important than giving someone electricity or a cell phone. If you don't have clean water, you realize it really quickly. And there's just a whole confluence of things that go wrong when you don't have clean water. Like education goes down, you're not in school, you're walking for water. There's just so many things. You're walking for water, so you can't work, or you can only work like a part-time or a really meager amount. So, we're lucky. If you're listening to this, you have clean water. It may not be like free of all the toxins like we talked about just yet, but hey, we can, there's just plenty of room you just had a great starting point if you're doing this. So anyway, that is a root cause. We support them. I plan to work more and more with them and drill at least one tire well by the end of September with them. So because it's a longevity thing. It's like that whole community now has clean water. So you just raise the standard of living just massively. So yeah.
That's huge, man. You guys are doing things to help people here and now, but paying it forward beyond and getting people the most fundamental nutrient they need, and that's water. That's amazing. So at its core, it's service. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I could, if that mission was complete, I could die today and be happy. I want to live a long, life of impact, but man, that would be so fulfilling. And yes, what we do, I feel like is really impactful as well, of course, for all the reasons we just talked about. But this is it's just something that needs to end, certainly in our lifetimes. So.
Well, Barton Scott, Upgraded Formulas. You guys definitely want to check him and formulas out. I'll have all of his content and links and everything down in the show notes. And tune in next time. We'll have some insider scoop on my results, and we'll spill the tea. We'll spill the mineral tea.
Yeah, certainly. And I can give the audience a discount code if you like.
Oh, even better. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So just my own personal code, Barton10, Barton10 at checkout.
It's BARTON.
Yeah, BARTON. And thanks for that. So that's just something to get started. So just because I can. Beautiful.
Well, I appreciate it. And the person listening right now definitely appreciates it after learning so much from this episode. I would encourage everyone to kind of do their due diligence. N equals 1, like I said earlier. Trust but verify, but test, don't guess. And I'll stop the rhymes from there. I'm a podcaster, not a rap artist. That's for damn sure. But all right, Barton, I appreciate you.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
For more information on everything you just heard, make sure to check this episode's show notes or head to everforwardradio.com.